Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this evening's public work session and budget hearing. We'll jump right into the pledge of the flag. Today, doing the pledge to the flag, we have Harper Breakall from Mogginsville Elementary.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, please have a seat. Well, Harper, thank you for joining us today. And do you have some people with you you'd like to introduce?
My mom, my brother, my dad, and Mr. Ketchel.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining us, guys. So tell me, do you have a favorite subject in school?
Yes,
Which one?
ELA.
ELA. Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
That's Dr. Zentmeyer's favorite. What is your favorite part about ELA?
Reading.
Reading? Very good. I like it. Very good. How about other activities after school? Do you play any sports or do any other hobbies?
Yes,
Yeah?
dance and soccer.
Which one's your favorite?
Soccer.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun. Are you going to continue playing into high school and everything too?
Yes.
That's what I like to hear. Very good. How about any pets?
Yeah, I have a cat and 2 dogs.
That's a lot of pets there. Is it your responsibility to take care of them or just play with them?
Play with them.
Very good, very good. Well, we thank you for being here. Did anyone else have any other questions?
Thanks.
Harper, you are a great addition to our community, and we appreciate you. We're excited to see what you're able to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for that, Harper, and we'll get the meeting underway. I do declare a quorum. We have all members present. So we'll move over to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Beachley. Any discussion about the agenda? Move to the motion. All in favor? Unanimous vote. Thank you. And we have quite a few meeting minute approvals to make, so.
Mr. President, I do have 10, so bear with me. The first motion would be for the approval of the open session minutes dated February the 3rd, 2026.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. All in favor? Very good. Unanimous vote. Thank you.
Motion 2 is the approval of the closed session minutes dated February 3rd, 2026.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. For a second, do we have any, move to the vote. All in favor? Unanimous.
Our third motion is for the approval of the work session minutes dated February 3rd, 2026.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Any discussion? Move to the vote. All in favor? Unanimous again. Thank you.
Motion 4 is the approval of the work session minutes dated February 17th, 2026.
Second.
Second. Discussion? Move to the vote. All in favor? Unanimous again. Thank you.
Our fifth motion is the approval of the open session minutes dated February 17th, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Move to the vote. All in favor? Unanimous again.
Motion 6 is for the approval of the closed session minutes dated February 17th, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. We'll move to the vote. All in favor? Thank you. Unanimous vote.
Motion number 7 is for the approval of the business meeting minutes dated February 17th, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? All in favor? Very good.
Motion 8 is for the approval of the work session minutes dated March 3rd, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Move to the vote. All in favor? Unanimous.
Motion 10 is for the approval of the open session minutes dated March 3rd, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous again. Thank you.
And our final
Oh, I thought,
approval
I thought that was 10.
is, number 10 is on the approval of the closed session minutes dated March 3rd, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. And then we'll move to the vote. All in favor? Thank you. Another unanimous vote. So,
Nice job, Mr. President.
very good. We will move on to the first portion of our superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Evans. Members of the board, we have a lot to celebrate this evening as we honor both students and staff for their significant achievements. We have all-state musicians, visual artists, and extraordinary team members that we're recognizing tonight. And first, for our students, I'd like to turn it over to Micah Sox, our supervisor of visual and performing arts. He will help us recognize our student performers who participated in state music ensembles. And then following Mr. Sox, Matt Wilson, visual art curriculum specialist, will introduce some student artists who earned awards in state and national art contests.
Thank you, Dr. Savine. Tonight, we would like to recognize March as National Music in Our Schools Month and National Youth Arts Month. Every day in rehearsal rooms and art classrooms across Washington County, educators dedicate themselves to reaching all students with life-changing artistic experiences. We often see the final product, but may miss the months of practice, refinement, and learning experiences that make it all happen. Tonight, we celebrate arts education as an essential part of the educational journey by honoring our students who have achieved at the state level in their arts discipline. Maryland All-State Concerts were held on February 22nd as part of the Maryland Music Educators Convention in Baltimore. Students in grades 7 through 9 may audition for the junior ensembles, and musicians in grades 10 through 12 are eligible for the senior ensembles. These students auditioned against thousands of students from across the state, and earning the All-State designation is quite the achievement. Students represent Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, North Hagerstown High School, South Hagerstown High School, Clear Spring High School, E. Russell Hicks Middle School, and Springfield Middle School. And now we'd like to recognize the students. Vesson Williams, Shay Bigsby, Valerie Clark Miller, Ian Morell, Nima Zember. Nima gets 2 certificates. Nima was in commercial band and senior mixed chorus, all state ×2, an incredible achievement. Hannah Lydia Kamsu, Angela Aparicio, Brianna Price, Matthew Ryan Barrett, Jocelyn Bentz, Chloe Bethea, Lily Van Meter, Madeline Wilkins, Ariel Kieki, Angel Bugwa, Grant Smallwood, John Rexroad, Maria Webb, Kennell Austin, Winnie Okai, Amelia Schwarzenegger, Willow Howe, Ivy Osborne, Sophia Pinson, Annika Rosario, and we also want to recognize Jillian Burton for earning a place in the American Choral Directors Association Eastern Region Honors Choir in Providence, Rhode Island. Also recognized tonight, although they couldn't be here, they're in the middle of rehearsals for their upcoming musical, we want to acknowledge the Barbara Ingram Theater Troupe for their first place winning performance at the Maryland State One-Act Theater Competition in January. Let's have a big round of applause for all of our all-state performers and award winners.
You got some parents, hold on.
And now it's my privilege to introduce our art curriculum specialist, Mr. Matt Wilson, with state art recognitions.
All right. Well, it's my privilege to continue our recognitions with our visual art students for the evening. And we're going to be recognizing 3 students that achieved gold key level recognition, which is the highest level for the 2026 National Scholastic Art Awards. Now, all 3 of these students are from Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, and I will announce each of them now. Our first recipient is Rory Curry. Our next recipient is Kelly Nguyen. And our final recipient, again, this is the gold key level for the 2026 National Scholastic Art Awards, Neil Rezvani.
Ask Terry Baker, our Executive Director of Human Resources, and Sheila Evers, our Executive Director of the Educational Foundation of Washington County, to help us celebrate our 2026 ESP of the Year finalists.
Good evening. Tonight we recognize our exceptional educational support personnel employees by honoring our ESP of the Year finalists and our 2026 ESP of the Year. Our schools couldn't operate without our ESP. They work hard and their dedication is just, you can't even measure it, what they do for our schools. This year we had 180 nominations, 180. 83 accepted, and tonight we're here to talk to our finalists, see our finalists and our winner. The finalists advanced through a rigorous selection process with judges from WCPS, the Education Foundation of Washington County, and our community. At this time, we'd like to show a video showcasing our finalists and our 2026 ESP of the Year.
Mel is a fantastic head custodian. Not only does she take care of our students and staff here at South High, but she also takes care of all of the organizations outside that love to use our facility. She really prides herself in maintaining a safe and clean space for our students every day and for those who come and visit us. She has very high expectations for herself, and she shares those high expectations with her team so they too contribute to the standards that she has set and making sure that this is a quality facility for people to come to. She goes alongside her staff. She consults her team, she leads through her service to others, and that is a wonderful thing to see. South High has a lot going on often, and so there can be several balls in the air, and she never lets one drop.
When I think of Eric, I think of someone who truly represents the ideals of Washington County Public Schools. As an expert and a troubleshooter, he works with our ed tech coaches alongside with our teachers. He brings the technical side, and the ed tech coaches bring the instructional side, and together they really make a difference in classrooms. As far as library media, Eric is helping us with our 3D printers, and he's supporting the management of Chromebooks for our students. So when I nominated Eric, I really wanted to get a full picture of his work. And so I reached out to various departments and principals and said, what is that one word you would use to describe Eric? 2 of them said he's very conscientious. Others said that he was resourceful and dependable. He's a collaborator. So all of those words together, that's pretty powerful. He does amazing work in our district.
I got to know Crystal over the summer as we began planning the schedule out for the year. We got together and we started talking about how we can best serve the kids on our bell schedule, how to make sure the kids get what they need. And seeing her sit down with the admin team, discuss that plan to best understand how to make it work for our kids. I noticed that right away in my early months here at Boonesboro High School. It goes way beyond simply serving that slice of pizza across the counter, right? It's about really understanding the kids and our staff too. You know, she just understands us as human beings, not just someone that she's serving a lunch to every day. And I gotta tell you, ever since the first day of school, she has absolutely been a difference maker in our school. I've seen her connect not just with staff and go above and beyond, but her ability not just to run the kitchen and to manage her staff. What her true strength is, I truly believe, is just having that human contact, having that human relation to know when someone needs help and how to step above and beyond her normal role.
Mike is a great candidate for ESP of the Year because his #1 priority is school safety. For a lot of people, you might think that's an evacuation or routine safety drills, but that's not it for Mike. For Mike, he's going to notice the student that passes him and avoids eye contact today when usually they turn to you and smile. He'll notice the door that shuts and doesn't quite sound the same that it typically does. Very early in this role, it became clear that Mr. Mike was trustworthy and he was an expert in this field. And quickly we learned, like, if Mike has an idea, you better listen, it's probably a very good one. Throughout his day, he's in the hallways, checking in with students. He interacts with students if they've had maybe a conflict with a peer. But with Mike, it doesn't just stop during the school day. He actually, with his partner, Mr. Jim, he runs an after-school club on Wednesdays, teaching students how to cook. And he also spends a lot of time with not just our building's evening events, but Williamsport High School's evening events. So really, students in grades 6 through 12 are impacted by Mr. Mike and how dedicated he is to our community.
Good evening. The Education Foundation of WCPS is grateful for the opportunity to partner with Washington County Public Schools. We are honored to recognize and celebrate all WCPS education support personnel and appreciate the positive impact they have on the lives of the students and in our community. As you can see from the video, these individuals go above and beyond every day. And now I would like to honor and introduce the finalists and our ESP of the Year. Please come forward when I call your name. Melanie Boyce, Custodial Engineer 2 at South Hagerstown High. Eric DeVault, IT System Technician at Emma K. Daub Elementary and South Hagerstown High. Crystal Toombury, Food Service Lead Field Manager at the Center of Education Services. And now for our ESP of the Year is Michael Smith. He's a Safety and Security Assistant at Springfield Middle.
Finally, this evening, I'll ask Dr. Gary Willow, our Deputy Superintendent, to come forward to help us recognize two of our outstanding music educators.
Good evening. Tonight we have the pleasure of recognizing two individuals from WCPS who are being honored by the Maryland Music Educators Association for their outstanding contributions to music education. These honors were presented to them at the annual conference held last month in Baltimore. First, the MMEA Hall of Fame recognizes individuals who have demonstrated excellence in teaching and who have made lasting contributions to music education. This honor reflects a career of dedication, leadership, and service that has strengthened the profession and enriched the lives of students. It is my pleasure to announce that Michelle Rafter, choir teacher at Williamsport High School, is being inducted into the MMEA Hall of Fame. Please come forward to receive your certificate, Michelle. Next, the Corwin Taylor Music Education Leadership Award recognizes an individual who has made a significant impact on music education of Maryland's youth. The award was established in 1993 in memory of Dr. Corwin H. Taylor, a noted musician, composer, and educator who devoted his career to advancing music education across our state. We are proud to share that our own Micah Sox, Supervisor of Visual and Performing Arts, is this year's recipient of the Corwin Taylor Music Education Leadership Award. Please come forward, Micah.
Just need to go there instead of being pushed there. Oh.
I need a box.
Here. This is better.
One more for good measure. 1, 2, 3.
Very good. We will move on to public comment, but before I do have a couple of announcements to make. First, I will read the policy on public comment. Each person wishing to address the Board of Education at a business meeting is required to sign up to speak prior to the meeting by contacting the secretary to the Washington County Board of Education at 301-766-2971 or by email at publicfeedback@wcps.k12.md.us no later than 4 p.m. on the Monday preceding a business meeting or prior to the start of public comment. Individuals will be requested to provide the topic on which they will be addressing the board. Individuals who do not sign up in advance of the meeting will be required to sign the log located at the back of the auditorium prior to public comment for purpose of the meeting minutes. Each speaker may speak for up to 4 minutes. Chairperson reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on any particular topic provided the issue in question has been presented and further comments would simply be repetitious. Following a speaker's presentation, the superintendent may designate a staff member to address that individual's concern or may ask the speaker to contact a particular department or a particular staff member at an appropriate time. This time has been set aside for citizens to provide public comments to the board. And the other thing I'd like to mention too is that this is our regular public comment for those who are wishing to do the comment on our budget. That will be coming later in the meeting. So this portion is for the regular public comment. We'll be getting to the budget here shortly. First on our list for public comment, we have James Shields. All right, next we have Shauna Mihalko. I hope I pronounced that right. I apologize if I didn't.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Shauna Mihalko. As you said, I'm your union rep for Northern Middle School. My colleagues and I are here because we wanted to share some voices, just some anonymous comments about how people felt about what's going on with the Board of Education and going on with our proposed budget changes. I have 3 statements. They're anonymous. I'd like to read them to you. So the first one says, with the 2.5+ inflation increase and the minimum wage, as teachers, we deserve more than what is being offered. We are college degreed, and some of us hold many degrees and work over 40+ hours a week on average. Many times our own time and educating the future generation comes out of our paycheck, and our health becomes compromised because of it. We should be offered more for our effort and our impact on the county. Please reconsider the salary and the medical adjustments you're looking at. The second statement says most teachers who choose this career do this because they love working with children and they enjoy the creativity that the job brings them every day. They're trained to design lessons to keep students engaged and challenged. Over time, great teachers become experts in their field, helping students learn and grow beyond what they might achieve just from a regular teacher because they've spent so much time with someone who is passionate and dedicated to their craft. Teachers come to work every day because it brings them joy for making a difference to their community. In their classrooms, they manage a group of 20 to 30 students, often with several different groups coming into their room a day. They build strong relationships and support kids wherever they are in their journey. Today's students, though, are different. Even though we do still see a range of socioeconomic backgrounds, but we see these days more social emotional needs than ever before. After 20+ years of teaching, this person has seen students in 2026 have differences than children in the past. These differences come to school every day in seeing the lens of these children carrying trauma from home as well as their community, and they're often exposed to mature content online, which could lead to bullying and peer pressure. Teachers are trained to support students at all levels, but it's getting harder to meet the needs for so many students with serious challenges, especially when there is not enough support staff. By the end of the day, after grading, data updates, answering emails, and talking with parents, teachers are often left feeling physically and emotionally drained. Given all this, I believe that teachers deserve a fair wage increase to support their own families so they can rest at home and come in ready the next day to work with students. With inflation over 2.5%, this person says they are sad that they're going to have to leave their school next year, their team, and their community that they care about to go work for another county just to pay their bills. They ask it and urge that you could possibly look into finding more funding to dedicate to the budget. And they're wondering, where's the money going from all of the development and industry that's coming into Washington County? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Mahalko. Next, we have Kyle Munley.
Good evening. Like Ms. Mahalko, I am a teacher at Northern Middle School, and I also have a few statements from some of my colleagues, again, anonymous, that I would like to share as well. One teacher states that it saddens me that I educate kids in this county and my kids attend school in this county. I take pride as a resident in this county, but no longer can afford to live and raise my kids within the county itself. If education is a priority, please put your money where your mouth is and pay your teachers what they truly do deserve. Another statement from a different individual. According to the proposed budget presentation, WCPS employees will receive an average raise of about 1%, while health insurance costs are expected to increase by approximately 10%. That means that in real terms, many of us will actually be taking home less money next year than we do even today. I want to be very clear what that looks like in practice. Like many teachers, I already work well beyond my contracted hours. I teach an extra class, spend several hours each week teaching home hospice teaching, and still work a summer job just to make sure I can pay bills. I live frugally, follow a strict budget. I am certainly not asking for luxury, nor are any of my other colleagues, but I am simply asking to be able to sustain a career I have dedicated my life to. 1% is not enough. Everything is going up much faster than 1%. Property taxes, groceries, gas, all of those expenses are rising so quickly that for the most part, a 1% salary increase is effectively a salary reduction. Teachers often work multiple jobs to afford to live. Many of us are paying for classroom materials out of our own pocket and helping students who cannot even afford basic supplies. There are very few opportunities for additional pay, and since we are salaried, we are not compensated for overtime. When compensation fails to keep pace with basic cost of living expenses, it sends a message that the work teachers do every day is not valued. I ask the board to carefully consider the real impact of these decisions on the people who are in the classrooms every day with our students. And my final statement, I am a newer teacher to Washington County Schools, having transferred into the county from Berkeley County, West Virginia. I'm not the first teacher to move into West Virginia from Maryland, and certainly will not be the last. West Virginia had many problems where, despite regular pay raises, even as high as 5%, rising insurance costs minimize or entirely eliminated said increase. The issue was one of many reasons why they transferred across the river to WCPS. And imagine their surprise when I find that not only are insurance costs also rising here, but the county is only offering a 1% increase. This is simply not acceptable in today's increasingly expensive world and, quite frankly, insulting to our capabilities as teachers. It's uncomfortable to see how little we are valued as professionals. West Virginia is currently experiencing a teacher shortage, much like a large portion of the country. The difference with West Virginia is that it is much more extreme, so teachers are crossing borders to other states. My question to the board is this: are you comfortable with teachers leaving en masse like they are in West Virginia? Potentially looking at teaching positions filled full-time by permanent substitutes rather than truly full certified teachers. If that is the direction you are looking for, then by all means continue. That future, however, is much closer than you could realize. I want to thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Munley. Next on the list is Amanda Gerberich. I hope I pronounced that right. Excellent. 2 for 2.
Hi, my name is Amanda Gerbridge. I come from Northern Middle School. I, too, also have anonymous statements. The first one I would like to read says, last year the board approved a 3% raise. Unfortunately, the cost of living rose faster than that. My rent alone increased by more than my pay. In reality, I lost money by staying with WCPS this year. That forced me into a difficult choice: keep my job and move somewhere cheaper, or stay in my apartment and leave the district. As a professional with a bachelor's degree who is pursuing a master's, I should not have to choose between keeping my career and keeping a roof over my head. Now the proposal is a 1% increase. Meanwhile, neighboring districts like Montgomery County Public Schools are offering a step increase plus 3%. Many talented educators have already left WCPS for that reason. You described this as a painful decision made in the interest of students, but I ask you, who is this truly painful for? The board or the teachers who cannot afford basic living expenses? Soon I will be tenured, yet I will be making the same salary as a first-year teacher. Does my experience truly hold the same value? I make too much to qualify for government assistance, but not enough to avoid relying on a local food bank. A teacher should not have to depend on a food bank to get by. Teachers are leaving and staffing shortages are already affecting our schools. At my building, teachers substitute for absent colleagues almost daily because there are not enough staff members. If this trend continues, the real question becomes, what happens to our students when more educators simply cannot afford to stay? My second statement, anonymous. There are several reasons why a 1% raise is not enough. Other companies in nearby districts are offering higher increases to keep up with the cost of living. While WCPS has increased starting salaries, it has not done the same for teachers who have worked in this county for years. This does not reward those who stay. Why not offer yearly bonuses or incentives for years of service? Many teachers are already struggling to pay bills and afford to live, especially single parents. Insurance and other expenses continue to increase while pay does not keep up. As one teacher shared, both they and their spouse are public school teachers raising 2 children in Washington County. They chose to live here for affordability and a strong community. But that affordability is no longer a reality. Their electricity bill has increased by 300%, and heating costs have become overwhelming. To keep up, they have pursued national board certification and taken on tutoring work during weekends just to create some financial breathing room. A 1% raise is simply not sustainable for growing families. A 1% increase is also difficult to justify when you look at the numbers. For many teachers, it amounts to only a few dollars per paycheck after taxes, barely enough to cover basic expenses like gas. When adjusted for inflation, it results in a net loss income. At the same time, expectations continue to rise. Teachers are asked to produce measurable growth in student outcomes, yet a 1% increase would be considered unsatisfactory in our own evaluations. That disconnect is frustrating and discouraging. And nearby districts are taking a different approach. Some teachers can drive a short distance to places like Loudoun County and see significantly higher raises. That is the end of my statement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gerbridge. Next is Roger Stenerson.
Hello, Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans? Is he there? No? Can I wait until he returns?
You can proceed.
Roger, go ahead.
Well, I want him to hear me.
He's
called the restroom.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I see. I think he's on the way back. Yes. Thank you. Mr. Evans, hello. Dr. Sovine, board members, good evening. As you know, I'm Roger Stenerson, speaking on behalf of Rising to Learn, a nonprofit organization that follows the actions of Board of Education and reports them to the public. Members of the public are invited to join with us by navigating to our website at risingtolearn.com. I'm going to have some budgetary comments later during the budget hearing that I hope you will find be helpful in addressing some of the previous concerns. But tonight I'm asking you now for transparency. Transparency as you approach the most important task for which you were elected, the appointment of a superintendent. In 2022, at the time of Dr. Sovine's hiring, several of you board members objected to or abstained from the vote to hire him due to concerns regarding the process used to select the new superintendent and also his salary package. On behalf of Washington County Public Schools stakeholders, I ask you tonight to identify what exactly is this board's plan and the process for finding a leader of excellence at a reasonable cost to replace the leader you're unable to retain. Budget pressures certainly are no less today, as we've been hearing, than they were in 2022. Specifically, what is your plan for securing a new superintendent? To remind and guide you, here's a little bit of what the Herald Mail reported on June 22nd, 2022 regarding board member votes concerning Dr. Sovine's appointment. Mr. Gesford mentioned concerns about the contract when another teacher or other staff could have been hired. And he said he felt rushed to pick a superintendent with a July 1 deadline, and that he struggled with a national search that produced only 5 candidates from within a 50-mile radius. He said he thought the school system, which had 2 internal candidates, missed our mark on growing our own. Mr. Evans also, according to the article, felt rushed, and the contract was, quote, a little bit rich, noting the school board hasn't been able to give teachers the raise they've wanted in some time. He also said it was a huge red flag when he received a couple comments from stakeholders that they weren't able to ask their questions of candidates during the stakeholder group interviews with the 2 finalists. Mr. Evans said his no vote mainly expressed his disappointment with the process. Dr. Zentmeyer said she believes developing talent within the system is the best hiring practice, and that's why she was against the national search for a superintendent. She said she was impressed with Dr. Sovine, and when he confided he walked and prayed at 4 a.m., her vote was secured. But there was a hiccup with the contract counteroffer. She said, for me, it is not about the measure of the man, but spending the money that you don't have. So it seems there were reservations about a rushed process in 2022. Accordingly, this evening, I ask you please to tell us, with approximately 90 days left until you are required by law to have a superintendent, what are you doing to avoid not having an excellent superintendent? What are you doing with the search process? What are you doing to include the public in your decision and to find, interview, and hire the best possible successor to Dr. Sovine? Surely, based upon your criticism of what happened in 2022, you do have a plan. Hopefully, make it known to the public and be transparent. Thank you.
Kathleen O'Reilly.
Good evening, President Evans, Dr. Sovine, and members of the board. My name is Kathy O'Reilly. I am an educational support professional in Washington County Public Schools, a parent, and a resident in this community. I'm here to comment on the 1% salary increase for all employees. A flat percentage increase may sound equal, but it does not have an equal impact. For a grade 6 paraprofessional in a classroom making $19.26 an hour, that is about 19 cents. That 19 cents would equal approximately $273.98 for a 10-month employee. For me, that's 4 tanks of gas or 8 copays of $35 at a doctor's office. That 19 cents will not change anyone's ability to afford the rising costs of food, gas, rent, or the 10% or more rise in healthcare costs. In Washington County specifically, 69% of educational support professionals earn less than $25 an hour. That is more than 2 out of every 3 ESPs. That means the majority of the workforce supporting our students is not earning what is considered even a baseline toward a living wage. This is not about extras. This is about whether the people who support students every day can afford to live in the communities they serve. When wages do not keep pace with the cost of living, the impact is clear. Employees leave, positions go unfilled, and students lose consistency and support. This is a workforce stability issue. It is also a community issue, because the employees who are affected by this are not separate from the taxpayers of this county. We are the taxpayers. We live here, we raise our families here, and we vote here. This is also an election year, and I believe 3 seats on this board are on the ballot. Decisions made this budget season will not be forgotten. I urge the board to reconsider whether a 1% increase reflects the reality of your employees are living in today, and whether it is enough to sustain the workforce our students depend on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Reilly. Next is Carol Mowen.
Sorry, if I could just leave you with one other thing. My apologies.
You have time.
It's just an Irish blessing. I am an O'Reilly, so I thought I would give you one today on St.
It
Patrick's
is
Day.
St. Patrick's Day. I appreciate that.
It is in the shelter of each other that people live. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
President Evans, Dr. Sovine, and members of the board. As you know from recent correspondence, the WCTA Board of Directors released a public statement about the warehouse in Washington County that has been purchased by the federal government to be converted into a processing or data detention center for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. As part of the decision, we surveyed members and discussed a draft with our representative council. Following their consensus, the WCTA Board of Directors approved the statement and shared it widely. To be clear, the WCTA Board of Directors respects law enforcement officers and the need for appropriate response to individuals involved in criminal activities. We are, however, concerned with the safety and security of our students, schools, and school communities. Here are the main points in our statement. All students have a constitutionally protected right to a public education, regardless of their immigration status or the immigration status of their parents. Anticipated consequences of the proposed Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency and the Department of Homeland Security's use of any facility in Washington County or in adjacent counties or states concern us because of the potential to affect students, schools, and school communities. Educators have a professional and moral responsibility to keep our students safe. And when the safety of families, friends, and communities is threatened, children's attendance at school and their ability to learn are compromised. And as educational leaders, we support the promises of the American dream. All of us living in the United States, no matter our race, place of birth, or gender, should have the freedom to thrive, to feel safe in our communities, and to have access to health care and education. I hope that you will agree that all students should have the opportunity to learn without the fear and distress that results from harsh immigration enforcement. I also recommend that you consider deliberating and passing a safe zones resolution and policy in support of our immigrant students and communities. A safe zones school district resolution and policy would make it clear that our school district is a welcoming place for all students, explicitly prohibit the collection of student immigration information, and reinforce procedures for responding to immigration enforcement. To provide a starting point for your consideration, I'm providing you with a draft resolution and policy. I hope that you will address this issue and add it to the agendas for your next policy committee and work session. And then bring it back to the board's business meeting agenda in the coming months so that you can also go on record about this matter. Thank you.
Next is Richard Stauffer. Richard Stauffer. Jack Smith.
Thank you. Hello, I am Jack Smith, speaking as a member of the Tri-M chapter at Williamsport High School for Music in Our Schools Month. I wanted to share how school music programs have been such an important part of my life for all 4 years that I've been at WHS. I've been a member of many ensembles, some of which happened during class, some of which outside of the school day. And those ensembles brought me a sense of pride in my school that I do not get in any of my academics. Putting forth my best work only really, I feel, the drive to do is the highest in my music classes because I have a shared responsibility with my peers to do my best. I've been in leadership positions at the band at WHS, and I feel that my fellow musicians deserve me to do my best so that their best is equally reflected in our product. The desire to pull our weight makes a community between us that brings all of us up, and I know several of my classmates do better in their other classes and have much better attendance because they are part of music programs. Additionally, many of us have taken the experiences we get in the classroom out into our communities in programs such as the Williamsport Community Band, where we've connected with our community and met people from all walks of life and brought a sense of pride in our community beyond just living here and going to school here. Many of us developed strong interpersonal skills that aren't taught in academic classes that have brought us much success in those academic classes. And all of these things make music programs very important in the schools. I think they need to be stressed further. And thank you for listening.
Patricia Felix.
Good afternoon, Washington County Board of Education members. My name is Patty Felix, and I'm speaking to you as the treasurer of the Washington County Educational Support Workers of the Board of Education. The ESP comprise the hourly wage earners portion of the workforce. We are the bus drivers, the paraprofessionals, the food service workers, the maintenance and the custodians, the clerical workers, and the technology workers. I would probably describe us as the backbone of the system, the gears that keep the chains moving. But those descriptions could be used by any group who comes before you looking for the fair share of the funds. In our case, however, students physically would not get to school. They would not be enrolled, they would not eat, they would not learn, and the buildings that they occupy would be in filth or despair. Over the past several years, we've been working with Superintendent Dr. Savine to increase the wages of the ESP to become competitive within our county. As you look out over the landscape of our county, I'm expecting that you are familiar with the current labor market. Amazon, Sheetz, FedEx, and UPS, the multitude of warehouses up and down I-81, and the retail in our county and surrounding areas are providing wages and benefits the likes of which workers have not seen in a generation or more. Pay is very high and at the starting wage, guaranteeing annual and more increases in bonuses. Benefits are now included with medical and dental and vision packages, vacation and sick leave. Our colleagues in other counties offer much higher starting wages, and we have lost many experienced ESP to other school systems. While we have been working to raise ESP salaries, the work has only started. We are only beginning to close the wage gap experienced by our ESP. In light of the very tight budget for our state and our county, it is imperative that every dollar spent is a wise investment. There is no greater return on our money than an investment in our students. That investment must include pairs in the classrooms, reliable transportation, safe and inviting schools, and employees who provide those necessary services to students. The current shortage of ESP workers and the high turnover rate can be directly attributed to lower wages. We recognize that there is a multitude of programs and services that are necessary for increased learning and opportunities for all WCSP students. The critical element of all those programs and services have in common is people, hardworking, dedicated people who make up the workforce of Washington County Public Schools. Please remember that without those workers, nothing happens for students. We need to recruit and retain the best for our students, and that begins with paying a living wage for all ESP. Thank you for listening, and I hope that we can count on your support.
Thank you, Ms. Felix. Next is Neil Becker.
Good evening, President Evans, Superintendent Savine, board members and staff. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Aaron Gobra. During the March 3rd meeting, there was lengthy discussion and Q&A regarding health care and benefits options for employees and their families. Tonight, I speak as an individual with over 30 years of experience in a variety of roles within WCPS, including serving as a member of that healthcare committee for more than a third of those years. The committee closely examines that data that you saw and more throughout the year. All units have representatives on that committee to ensure that the benefits WCPS offers best meet employee needs while being physically responsible. First, I fully support the Marathon Clinic. Seriously. As a committee, we looked at options to best meet the needs of the employees while being physically responsible. I utilize the clinic as my primary care provider. I invite and encourage all employees to try out the clinic. But regarding comments about demanding that employees utilize the clinic for primary care, I'm firmly against that. The relationship between a patient and a physician is a very personal one. Mandating the use of the clinic ignores the relationships individuals have with physicians they trust. Yes, I know the suggestion was for new hires, but even new hires have established relationships with physicians. Again, I love the clinic. It was a personal choice. I didn't love my previous doctor, so I chose to leave my practice while saving copay costs at the same time. So I got a little extra money in my pocket, but that was my choice. Now to a point I cannot emphasize enough. Comparing private industry benefits packages to WCPS packages is wholly inappropriate. Private industry is about profit. Cutting benefits in private industry increases profits for CEOs and shareholders. For WCPS employees, cutting benefits or increasing copays, deductibles, and premiums, that hurts each employee by decreasing their compensation. Do not compromise the economic stability of employees by shifting increased costs to us. Educators already earn 74 to 85 cents on the dollar compared to similarly educated professionals. Don't increase that gap by stripping benefits packages for thousands of educators committed and responsible for 22,000 students. In closing, as board members, your profits are safe, engaged students, successful graduates, and content employees who enjoy their careers within WCPS. Don't compromise that by gutting benefits. Educators are in high demand, and you will lose qualified educators to other districts and other fields if you compromise their compensation and benefits. Thank you.
Lowen.
Good evening. I'm Ethan Lowen. I'm in agreement that the 1% raise is very bad, a huge negative. The comments about health care benefits being cut is very bad, a huge negative. But we need to understand, or we need to have an honest discussion about the root cause. And the root cause is about the primary issue in Maryland's public schools, which is the blueprint. The blueprint from a financial perspective is so bad, as we've talked about numerous times, but it's so bad that last year, the governor called a joint session of the House of Delegates and the Senate to say perhaps we should have a discussion about cutting back on the blueprint, and to say that the governor's staff, because the governor didn't go there, but his staff did, to say they were roasted for that discussion or an attempt at a discussion would be an understatement. So it is exceedingly bad. It's not just bad from a financial perspective, right? You know, benefits to disabled, and now the elderly are being cut. It's not just bad from that, but also we have seen since Blueprint's implementation and its implementation of those policies around all the states that follow those policies, that there's been a switch in academic performance where non-Blueprint policy following states have now fallen on average below the academic performance of Blueprint of the Blueprint policies, right? So it used to be that our state was here, everyone else was here, and it flipped. And it's a national trend amongst those policies. So that's what the issue is. That's the financial issue. But why is it? Why is it that Blueprint's policies are doomed to fail? How could I have come here, no letters behind my name, no certifications, and have said for the last 3 years, Blueprint is going to be terrible financially and academically, and gone into detail about it for 3 years, and absolutely correct. It's now stated fact. And the reason is because Blueprint's policies are based upon failure. Unfortunately, it's the tragedy of the situation. You see, what happened is in the early 90s in inner cities such as Baltimore and New York and Chicago and DC and LA, they created policies to accommodate the drop in academic performance that occurred in the 80s with the release of the crack epidemic in those inner cities. So social and emotional learning, social justice, restorative practices, all of those things came out of those policies in the 90s in those cities, essentially to accommodate what had been lost. In 2006, our governor at that time, his name was Governor Bob Ehrlich, tried to change those policies. Said, you know, Maryland and all the other districts outside of Baltimore is in many ways a top 10% performing school system nationally. Let's do in Baltimore what we do in the rest of the state. Well, there were some political entities, the Democratic Party, the teachers union most notably, the NAACP teamed up and said, no, you're racist, Bob Ehrlich. I mean, everyone knows the drill at this point, right? And guess what? They won. As a result, in 2012, those policies started to get pushed out from Baltimore to the other school districts in the state. In 2019, they got codified, or 2020 got codified into law through the Blueprint. Blueprint basically takes what is essentially low-performing policies and enforces it into high-performing school districts. Organizational Management 101. If you take low expectation policies and force it into an organization's culture, the culture drops down to meet those policies. It's that simple. Organizational 101. So how was I able to say all these things that are now just accepted fact? It's because it's based upon elementary stuff. It's that simple. The suffering has been artificially created. If we want to solve the financial issues with the teachers, let's solve Blueprint. We'll solve the academic issues too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowen. Next is Regina George.
Hi, I'm Regina George. I identify as Regina George today because I'm going to have to be a mean girl about what I'm discussing next. First off, the teachers union person said that foreign-born nationals have a constitutional right to a free education, a free public education. She's referring to illegal immigrants that are here illegally. If you break into our country, you're not entitled to constitutional rights or a free anything on our dime. So I just wanted to correct what the teachers union had said earlier. That was the Rachel Mallon individual who keeps coming in here talking crazy nonsense. Anyhow, the reason I came to speak this evening is I had a friend contact me where her daughter is on home health teaching, and that means that she's too sick to spend 8 hours at school. And Smithsburg High School was denying this individual the ability to go to sporting events like the general population could just walk in and attend a sporting event at Smithsburg High School. That's not legal. They were discriminating against her because she's on home health teaching, and they were retaliating, I guess, because they didn't have control over her education, her day-to-day activities. It seemed like a control grab to me. Anyhow, the policy is not that kids on home health teaching are not allowed to attend sporting events. They're not allowed to enroll and play on the football team if they're so sick they can't even go to school for 8 hours, which obviously I don't think this individual wanted to go and score a touchdown. She just wanted to be a normal kid and go to a basketball game. So that was ridiculous. I made some calls, and it was clarified with Smithsburg that they are not allowed to discriminate against disabled or sick individuals and make their lives a living hell and ruin their childhood. So that would be the first issue. Then the next issue was these same exact administrators and bureaucrats, I believe they were all from the old school board, not the current school board, wouldn't let this kid go to prom. And it was just a flat out no, a hard no. You're not allowed to go to prom. You're not allowed to have a normal childhood. This is not cool. That's not going to happen. So I made a lot of phone calls, very angry ones. Sorry, Brian Albert, all the people at the school board, the lady that answers at Smithsburg High School, not the principal, because he seemed to be the root of the evil that I'm discussing here. And what it is, if you have a doctor that says you can't go to school for 8 hours, you don't have the stamina for it, they just need a doctor's note that says you have the stamina to last an hour at prom. That's it. It's not a big, complicated thing. You don't need to call NASA. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. A doctor's note will override the bureaucratic rules of this school system. I will say that I did reach out to consult with Ethan Lowen. He's very familiar with school board issues. I did email, Mike and the president here, and I got, the response that I needed wherein this guy, Jeremy, that deals with home health teaching, contacted me and said that there was a big misunderstanding and that the Smithsburg principal just simply didn't know what he was talking about. So apparently, all of the schools have been notified that if you have a kid on home health teaching, they are able to go to prom or homecoming in the fall with a doctor's note, and they're definitely allowed to just walk into a sporting event that the general population can attend, and they're not to be treated like freaks like the principal of Smithsburg High School. I will tell you, he was an absolute prick on the phone. He was an entitled jerk-off, and he spoke down to me like I was 2 years old. I didn't appreciate that, and I don't think anyone should have to put up with that sort of garbage, let alone children who are sick. And I thank the people here at the Board of Ed who straightened him out for this girl who's now able to go to prom. Thank you for your time, and I'm going to speak about the budget later because that's a whole nother issue.
Thank you, whatever your name is today. Next, we'll go to, that's the end of the speakers that signed up. We will move to board member comment. Nora, do you want to start?
I just would like to say I went to Northern Middle School as well, so I appreciate everyone from Northern coming out, and I am strongly in support of teachers getting paid exactly what they deserve. I am, as I've said multiple times on the school board, I am a product of every single teacher that has helped me in the past. And I'm very proud to be here sitting on the board representing all the students of Washington County, but also, once again, the teachers who have shaped me. And I'd also like to say, as a student member, I am not allowed to vote on budget proceedings. At least I'm almost 100% sure. So, thank you.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that spoke. We appreciate your feedback. Jack, I'm so glad, did he leave? I'm so glad he's enjoying his music education because I think Washington County has a great music education for all students that want to be there. Everybody had some very, very good comments and a lot of thought. And I will be thinking about all of these things. And I thank you very much.
Thank you to all our speakers. I know a lot of you spoke about the budget, and we'll talk about that later. I did just want to comment, I think one of the anonymous letters from the Northern Middle rep was about social emotional needs of the students going up. So that's something I'm very adamant about trying to help where we can and fix. I think we have a work session coming up that might address some of that. So I appreciate you bringing that. And then also, I think it was Mr. Becker, you talked about the health insurance, and I really appreciate you coming out and speaking about that. And I agree with you as far as the personal relationship with doctors. They are personal, and you can find one you like, and you find others you don't. So I appreciate those comments.
How can you add anything to that? Especially Nora, how eloquent. You have to teach me how to speak like that. That's great. I'm still impressed with Dr. Savine, and I still hiccup over spending money that we don't have. But I do want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I have pages of notes. Thank you.
So I guess I'd like to thank everyone also. I will say that there's probably not one member of this board feels like any of our employees are devalued. We value every one of you. We can't vote positively on everything that you guys want, unfortunately. But we do value you, and we do look at ways to try to find ways to make things better. And we are always, looking for new avenues. We even talked today about, another avenue to help. So we appreciate, I especially appreciate people coming and talking to us, but please don't think that it's deaf ears, because we do, and not just today, we talk among ourselves, trying to find ways that we can make things better for you guys. So, I mean, I just want you to know that we do value every one of you, and everyone that's watching at home. We do value you, and we are very limited to what we have, and so we have to try to figure out what's best, and it's not always best for everybody, but we do look at that. So I do thank you all for coming out tonight, and you are valued.
I just want to echo everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and speaking to us. We do the best we can with what we have, but we definitely hear you, and we're trying to do everything that we can to make work environment a good place for you. Obviously, more money is always good, so we'll continue talking and see if there's anything more we can do with that.
Thank you, guys. I just would say that I was thinking about the issue with the sick child that wasn't allowed to go to prom. I know of somebody right now who's very sick. He's a student. He's not in school. But if there were a day when he were able to go to a sporting event or something like that, I would hope that he would be able to go. And so I was glad that they were able to work that out.
Thank you, and I'll just add on, I appreciate Jack coming up to speak about the music in schools. I know in our society there's quite a bit of emphasis placed on sports. That's what I did growing up, and I know I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. So I appreciate all the work that they do, all the teamwork they do, and unfortunately sometimes music does kind of go by the wayside a little bit and kind of put in the back seat. So I really appreciate Jack coming up and making a point to point that out to us. So thank you to Jack. Very good. Next we will move on to reports to the board. We have BARC, the Budget Advocacy and Review Committee, to give us their analysis of our proposed budget.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Savine. I am pleased to have with me this evening the chair of the Budget Advocacy and Review Committee, Abby Williams. to present some points of the report from the Budget Advocacy and Review Committee and the work that they've done over the last month since the board adopted the superintendent's recommended budget as their draft budget. I also want to recognize 3 other committee members that are here in the gallery this evening. April Crohair is here, Gary Nalvern, and Patty Felix. And for all the committee members, we worked them pretty hard a couple weeks right in a row to be in here and to really just kind of force feed them, truthfully, everything that's in the budget in a few short hours and expect them to be able to digest it and analyze it and develop a report. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to Mrs. Williams if she has a few highlights of the report she wants to share with you. But of course, the report is in your packets, and of course, it's online for the community as well.
Okay, as stated, we met 3 times, twice, February 25th and March 4th, to analyze things from the budget. The staff reviewed the superintendent's budget, which became the board's draft budget and was based on the board's approved budget priorities. During our deliberations, we discussed in detail the anticipated revenues, reductions to the baseline budget, and planned expenditures. An analysis revealed that enrollment declined by 71 students, but WCPS did realize another shift in student profile with an increase of 11 multilingual students and 85 students receiving special education services. After review of the enrollments and per-student allocation, state revenues are increasing by $8.67 million. The Board of Education has requested $125.59 million in funding from the Board of County Commissioners, which represents an additional $5.18 million above the FY26 allocation and reflects the amount required under the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. As anticipated during the last budget cycle, wealth equalization has shifted the per-student allocation responsibility towards county government. This change reflects increases in the county's wealth per student as calculated by the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. Based on the significant growth in local funding for FY26, the county is benefiting from a growth in the guaranteed tax base grant by receiving an additional $1.8 million, which reduced the county's required additional contribution for this year from $6.25 million to $5.18 million. The draft budget provides funding in alignment with the Blueprint for Maryland's Future requirements in the areas of pre-kindergarten, multilingual learners, and Career Ladder National Board certification valued at $2.87 million. To support its employees, the draft budget provides $7.44 million in salary increase with an increase of 1% for all employees and a 10% premium increase for employee health insurance. These 2 initiatives account for 52.55% of the new revenues for the fiscal year. The draft budget also provides significant resources, $1.5 million, to support the expansion of 7 special education program classrooms, responding to the continued growth in the special education enrollment. The committee recognizes that the allocation from the county government to the Board of Ed has progressively declined in terms of the percentage of total county annual operating revenue, from a level of 47.3% in fiscal 2013 to the current level of 37.27% in fiscal 2026. The committee also recognizes that the Board of Ed's draft budget may be subject to change pending the outcome of several legislative bills that are currently under consideration by Maryland General Assembly. These bills may also require additional allocations from the Board of County Commissioners to the Board of Education. We concurred that the committee commends the Board of Ed for its responsible fiscal approach. We support the following tenets of the FY27 draft budget. The committee acknowledges the thoughtful reductions made to reallocate funds within the fiscal year 2027 general fund operating budget. The committee recognizes that inflationary increases are necessary to maintain current service levels rather than expand them. The committee also applauds the district's commitment to fostering a culture of safety, wellness, and student success by focusing on the majority of new financial resources towards these priorities within the strategic plan. Specifically, the county supports the expansion of special education program classrooms to serve students with disabilities. The committee supports the additional of elementary assistant principals, which provides additional leadership to those schools and develops a pipeline of future school leaders. The committee supports the additional pre-K and multilingual services proposed to be added through this budget and maintaining pace with the 75% rule required by the blueprint. Additionally, we commend the board for leveraging a portion of pre-K positions to also support special educational needs of our youngest learners. The committee recommends that additional funding be sought from the Board of County Commissioners. As we discussed during February 17th, 2027 work session, this could be accomplished by requesting the commissioners fully accept the responsibility of school resource officer program in the sheriff's office into the sheriff's office departmental budget and return the expense for the school nursing program back to the health department's budget where it was funded prior to 2013. If the board receives additional funding, the committee recommends prioritizing the following needs. Number one, increase the allocation dedicated to the salary resource pool. 2, restore position cuts from the budget and FY 2026 budget. Add additional special education case managers to reduce the caseloads. 4, add school security employees at county, middle, and high school as was proposed during the FY 2026 budget cycle. And increase the allocation dedicated to the bus replacement cycle. Based on our review, the Budget Advocacy and Review Committee supports the Board of Education's draft fiscal 2027 general fund operating budget as a needs-based budget that addresses the county's changing demographics and supports the educational needs of our students. Respectively, Evie Williams, Chairperson.
Does anyone have any questions? The only one I have is, if we did do that, I know there was discussion in the work session about asking county commissioners to take on the cost of the SROs and the school nurses, thank you. Was there any discussion about what would happen, how would we fix the issue in the future if it were to happen again where the county commissioners or the health department said, you know what, we're not going to pay for this anymore again, and then we have to go and pay for it? Was there any discussion on that?
No.
No, I can't believe there was. That's always a risk. Really with any part of the budget. I mean, at this point, it's a large allocation from county government to the Board of Education that the board decides how then to distribute those funds with its general fund operating budget. That's always been a risk, even, speaking specifically of SROs within our safety team, that has, to some extent, preferred that we pay the actual bill to the sheriff's office because we gain more control over the allocation of the officers over, if there's let's say a patrol shortage, but we're paying the bill for an SRO, makes it hard for, let's say, the sheriff or the chief of police in Hagerstown to say, nope, I'm reassigning that officer because I'm in full control. That is a risk. However, operationally, we've got great relationships with the leadership of both the Hagerstown Police Department and the sheriff's office who believe in the value that the school resource officers provide in overall community safety. So I think from that perspective, the risk is minimal. To your question, Mr. Evans, that comes down to whether county leadership, whether it's at the Board of County Commissioner level or at the staff level making recommendations to them, feel as strongly about those programs and leaving the funding, once it's restored, leaving it in their budget. That is the larger question that would be a risk ongoing.
Jeff, would you happen to know how much money we would save by the county taking on those two services?
Don't have my budget book here in front of me, but off the top of my head, I believe the school resource officer approximately 1.6 million, and the school health nurses approximately 3.1, 3.2 million. So almost 5 million.
Thank you.
Jeff, I just have a question for you. What is the cost of the 71 students that we lost? Approximately? Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
71 at roughly $10,000 per student, so 700,000. If I'm moving the numbers right.
And then, help me on this one. The bus replacement, could that be moved to the CIP?
We could request for that in the CIP to the county government. We could.
And how many buses that were we thinking this time?
We typically were rolling approximately 15 buses a year on a 12-year cycle. That allows for all of our routes, plus also for spares, and we cover spares also for the routes of our contractors. We are adding, the plan with this year's budget probably funds 10 buses and then 2 alternative vehicles. So we're still probably 3 to 5 short, and we didn't complete the full cycle last year. So we're starting to build a backlog of buses beyond that 12-year cycle.
And the only reason I say that is because I know the county has always said that they don't want to add a revolving an expense, but they're usually willing to fund CIP. And I'm just wondering if we move that, our bus allocations to a CIP project. And I mean, I know it's kicking a can down the road, but we kicked the can a lot, and we kicked it last year with buses. But I don't know if they're ever going to do our health care. I mean, that's a heavy lift, and the county just has so much. And I propose even just doing 1 or 2 SORs a year, and then just kind of as a step process, asking them every year, maybe just add another one or another one, just till we get where we need to be. So, I mean, there's just some things that I think that we may be able to look at, and I think that the CIP project, see if we could get them to bite on moving that over. Just a thought.
I think the risk is the same as the previous discussion on nurses and school resource officers.
Right.
They become in control of the funding, so they could, on any given year, decide, hey, I've got 1.5 million this year for your bus replacement cycle, and next year I only have $1 million, and so you're up and down in the plan. It's no different than where we are with capital maintenance and school renovations and replacements. If the funding is there, the project comes forward. If it isn't, they kick it out years.
Right.
And so I think we're putting buses in that same bucket.
Yeah. Just trying to think of
And
other
capital
ways.
maintenance for HVAC, roofs, boilers, chillers has been $4 million from county government and hasn't changed
Yeah.
in a significant amount of time. And this would be, a full bus replacement cycle, 15 buses a year, is probably in the window of $2.3 million annually. Just to put it in perspective of what that is, it's, I think we stated during the budget cycle, a traditional non-special ed bus that doesn't have air conditioning, doesn't have lifts and what have you for wheelchairs is now running about $160,000 each. And then, of course, you're probably closer to $180,000 for air conditioning and lifts on our special ed buses. So when you start talking about replacing 15 of them, it's over $2 million.
And we had a couple smaller buses that we were trying to downsize for smaller routes.
Yeah, we're actually moving, the state of Maryland now allows alternative vehicles like passenger vans. So we're looking at purchasing 2 of those in the coming fiscal cycle, and to assist with smaller routes, places that maybe you can't always get a bus, or some of our routes that go out of county that might only have a handful of students on it, as opposed to sending, a 70-passenger bus.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, I just have I'm not necessarily against asking for the extra money. My concern would be using that money that could just as easily be put back on us to fund something that is a recurring expense. That's what my concern is, so. Anyway, with that being said, we appreciate all the hard work you do. You're all volunteers, and we appreciate you taking the time to help us out with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we will recess from the business meeting and go into the hearing for the budget that we've all been waiting for. Before I do that, I'd like to read the policy. Each person wishing to address the Board of Education was encouraged to sign up to speak prior to the hearing or by signing the log located at the back of the auditorium 30 minutes in advance of the commencement of the hearing. Individuals wishing to address the board who did not sign up prior to the start of the meeting will be required to sign the log located at the speaker's table for the purposes of meeting minutes. Each speaker may speak for up to 3 minutes, 3 minutes this time. Those representing an organization will be allotted 5 minutes. No speaker may waive all or a portion of his or her allotted time to permit someone who has not properly registered to speak. A timer will be used for each speaker. Once the speaker begins, the timer will be started, and a green light will be displayed when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining in their allotted time. A yellow light will be displayed on the timer. When the speaker's allotted minutes have elapsed, a tone will sound and a red light will be displayed on the timer, indicating the speaker's allotted time has ended, and the speaker's microphone will be turned off. A speaker who is unable to conclude their comment within the allotted time may submit the remainder of their comments in writing to the Board of Education by email to boe@wcps.k12.md.us, by U.S. mail, or by providing a written copy of their comments to the Board of Ed at the meeting. At this time, I would like to call up our first speaker on the list, Roger Stenerson.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Printed copies are being distributed to you. As you know, I'm Roger Stenerson, speaking on behalf of Rising to Learn, once again a nonprofit organization that follows the actions of the Board of Education and reports them to the public. Members of the public are invited to join us by navigating to our website at risingtolearn.com. So you've heard a lot of requests this evening, and I hope the couple suggestions I have for you will help to address those. I'm sorry, thank you. We believe, as many others, that the salary pool needs to be increased so that WCPS employees can be compensated with a percentage increase greater, and I would say significantly greater than 1%. Recognize and reward the hard work, dedication, and loyalty all those currently working for and with our students and their families, and make it possible to attract high-quality new hires, and as some have said, not to lose high-quality current teachers. Our children deserve to have the best teachers and support staff. Talented employees do not just disappear, they migrate to environments where they are more valued and properly compensated. The most capable often leave when they feel no support or no hope of betterment, especially in a year when you're considering increasing the employee share of insurance. As another speaker said this evening, you may find that a raise of only 1% will actually see teachers taking home less. So, a couple suggestions for you. First, eliminate the ABLE online instructional program. Reallocate those funds to the salary pool. I believe we've heard over the last year that ABLE students or the ABLE program produces inferior results compared to traditional face-to-face instruction, and it's expensive. It's very expensive. It's considering the licensing, facility usage, and staff time, you've paid more than $1 million this past year for that program for just 48 students. Let me say that again, $1 million for 48 students. very expensive per student cost. Some would say this is a highly unjustified or even a wasteful expenditure. And within the context of our current financial support, such a less effective program certainly deserves to be eliminated. We can do things well one way, perhaps. I'm not sure that means we have to do them two ways. Second of all, as the Budget Advisory Committee suggested, please request additional funding from the Board of County Commissioners that would implement shared funding of health nurses and school resource officers. I'm not intimately familiar with how those expenses are shared, but certainly they can add to the cost of those two dimensions, those two services. The resulting funds, of course, could be moved to the salary pool fund. Third, decline the Salary Study Committee's proposed 8% increase to the salaries of Board of Education members and direct those proceeds to the salary pool. How, for example, can board members accept an 8% raise while granting a 1% raise to their employees? Now, that's not going to result in a lot of dollars, maybe a couple thousand at the most, but you're going to get a lot more value than that in the respect of your employees. That's going to send a very positive message if you are able to do that. On behalf of Rising to Learn, I'd like to thank you for your consideration of these ideas.
Next, we have Carol Mallon.
President Evans, Dr. Sovine, and members of the board, I am Carol Mowen, President of the Washington County Teachers Association, speaking on behalf of the organization and the 2,000 unit members that we represent. These comments are provided to you on behalf of these members who provided their reasons why 1% is not enough to WCTA for this purpose. So I'm reading their comments, not mine. As teachers in Washington County, many of us love our jobs and care deeply about our students in this community. Teaching is more than a profession. It is something we've committed our lives to because we believe in the impact we have on children every day. But the reality is that a 1% raise does not reflect the work teachers are doing or the financial pressures we are facing. Educational staff are responsible for far more than delivering instruction. Class sizes are already large and likely to grow. Students' needs are more diverse, requiring greater differentiation and individualized attention. At the same time, behavioral and mental health challenges are increasing, requiring more time, expertise, and emotional energy. Our work does not end when the bell rings. Planning, grading, communicating with families, and preparing instruction take hours outside the school day. Many teachers report working 46 to 50 hours per week regularly and up to 55 hours during peak times of the year. This is well beyond the contract hours. Parents reach out early in the morning and late in the evening, and teachers respond because they care. For example, one teacher regularly responds to a parent 30 minutes prior to the start of the workday between 6:30 and 7 o'clock in the morning because that is when that parent is available. We also invest personally in our classrooms. Many of us have spent thousands of dollars over the course of our careers to make sure that students have what they need. And beyond academic responsibilities, teachers are often supporting students through trauma and difficult life circumstances, which can take an emotional toll on educators as well. At the same time, financial realities are becoming harder to manage. For a teacher earning around $65,000, a 1% raise amounts to roughly $17 per paycheck after taxes. That does not meaningfully offset rising costs. Property taxes have increased significantly in recent years, and housing costs continue to rise, with home prices exceeding $300,000 and rents over $1,100 per month. Grocery bills, utilities, and healthcare costs continue to climb. When all of these factors are considered together, a 1% is not a raise. It is a reduction in real income. Low increases like this also affect the stability of our schools. When experienced teachers leave for better-paying districts or other professions, students lose consistency, mentorship, and experience in their classroom. Recruitment becomes more difficult. and retention suffers. We want to stay. We want to continue serving this community, but it should not require working multiple additional jobs or making financial sacrifices that make the profession unsustainable. If we truly value educators, that must be reflected in compensation, not just in words, but in meaningful action. For all these reasons, and on behalf of the WCTA members who provided them to share with you, WCTA respectfully urges the board to reconsider the 1% salary increase and pursue compensation that reflects the realities of living and working in Washington County. In addition, WCTA fully supports the Budget Advocacy and Review Committee's recommendations. Thank you for considering these comments from WCTA members and the ones from earlier in the evening as well, and for considering the BARC recommendations prior to finalizing the FY 2027 budget request to the Washington County Commissioners. We look forward to your deliberations and hope that you will revise the budget accordingly. Thank you.
Next, we have Lori Buterin.
Dr. Sabine, President Evans, members of the board. I'm here today representing CCAC, the Washington County Special Education Advisory Committee. The Washington County Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee appreciates the opportunity to provide input on the fiscal year 2027 budget. As an advisory body representing families, staff, and community members connected to special education services, we focus on recommendations that strengthen supports for students with disabilities. The draft budget includes $1.5 million to expand 7 special education classrooms to address growing enrollment. This investment is important as the district adapts to an increasing complex student population. However, the county's contribution to the Board of Education has steadily declined, from 47.3% of operating revenue in the fiscal year of 2013 to 37.27% in fiscal year 2026. This reduction puts pressure on the school system to meet rising needs with fewer resources. Staffing and supporting recommendations. CCAC recommends additional staffing to ensure students with disabilities receive appropriate support, including more special education case managers to reduce the caseloads and improve IEP compliance. That should not be the job of teachers. More transition specialists to assist students in preparing for adulthood. A dedicated transition specialist for Marshall Street School and the Job Development Program, focusing on students 18 through 21 as they move towards employment and adult services. These measures will help students leave WCPS with meaningful post-secondary pathways and connections to community supports. We also encourage reconsideration of the proposed 1% salary increase for all staff and support staff. These staff members are vital for daily instruction and inclusion and are underpaid, leading to recruitment and retention issues. This affects students' access to free and appropriate public education, FAPE, and more meaningful salary increase needs to improve outcomes. Kids in special education bond with their teachers. That's how they get to school every day. We got to keep them. Additional funding opportunities. CCAC recommends seeking additional funding from the Board of County Commissioners as discussed at the February 17, 2026 work session. We suggest moving the school resource officer program fully into the sheriff's office budget, returning the school nursing program funding to the Washington County Department of Health budget as it was before fiscal year 2013. Landon's project considerations. Finally, we want to highlight Funkstown School, also known as Landon's project. While we support the investments for students with disabilities, we are concerned about the financial commitment required, $1.44 million from the general fund in fiscal year 2027, with only $97,020 in donors' contributions so far. We would like to see commitment letters on the funding from donations and funds promised to WCPS special needs students. Thank you.
Next, we have Sean Porter.
I'm just waiting on the timer. There you go. All righty, so the reason why I decided to speak tonight about the budget issues is I was at a meeting this morning. I just want to let all the teachers and WCPS employees know what the county thinks of them. This morning, the Washington County Board of County Commissioners, specifically John Barr and Jeff Klein, voted to give themselves an 8.14% pay raise. So just remember that when you go to vote, if you're a teacher or WCPS staff member who only got a 1% pay raise, the Washington County Board of County Commissioners doesn't care about you. They care about giving themselves an 8.14% pay raise. They actually had a sham salary study commission that didn't even hold its second meeting to review what public feedback said about it. This has actually triggered an Open Meetings Act complaint against them for not holding this meeting. So they talked about it, and citizens all said, no, don't give them the raise. Dave Williams was there, I was there, Curtis Ray was there. No one wanted this raise to go through for the commissioners specifically. When the second meeting came, the citizens were supposed to be able to go. It was a 4:30 meeting. Earlier time is great. They didn't have enough people to meet quorum because the public was so outraged at the fact that they were considering giving the commissioners an 8.14% pay raise when they cut the number of meetings almost in half, and then they eliminated public comment completely, making their day even shorter so that they're getting paid far more for far less work. So after this sham salary study commission failed to meet quorum and to make any recommendations, they just decided to summarily give themselves an 8.14% pay raise without even the appearance of due diligence or civilian oversight or any sort of semblance of decency. They didn't send it to a referendum to let the citizens vote on it. They just said, you know what, we deserve an 8.14% pay raise, but to hell with the teachers and the staff at WCPS because they're getting 1%. And real quickly, the reason we're having financial problems here at WCPS is because of Governor Wes Moore cutting funds from Annapolis, as well as the Democrat supermajority in Annapolis mandating the blueprint, which is a crazy suicidal spending spree for Democrat left-wing ideology, woke, transgender nonsense, garbage. And so the teachers union, who always encourages people to vote Democrat, is up here complaining about the results of voting Democrat. So we're stuck with Democrats in Annapolis, Democrats in the State House, taking away funding from the county, and then they're blaming the Republican school board here in Washington County, which is absolutely insane. So I just wanted to correct the record. Less money's coming into WCPS from Annapolis because of Democrats in Annapolis, and people are going around, specifically teachers union hacks, and blaming local Republicans for somehow getting stuck with less money as if they had any say in it at all. I don't think anyone up here could convince Wes Moore to give us any of our money back or lower our electric bills due to his ridiculously insane climate policies. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Next, we have Ethan Lowen.
Good evening, I'm Ethan Lowen. Oh, I'm representing an organization, Patriot Parents of Washington County. As we talked about earlier, I mean, Blueprint is really just a series of policies based on the giving up of children, right? Children were forced into an absolute tragedy in an area I lived, Washington Heights, New York City. Nickname, crack capital of America, right? So now, fortunately, I was removed and moved to Florida 2 years before the crack was released, as I say. But it was released in all of these cities that we mentioned earlier, where all these issues are. And Blueprint is really just a series of policies that were intended to essentially codify giving up on the children. Now, those are financial consequences, because in the end, finances is really just a measurement of people doing things. Money truly doesn't grow on trees. It's just a measurement of people's ability to do things and do things efficiently. So 3 years ago at the Blueprint presentation that occurred in this room, I stated that Blueprint was going to take over the state's finances. The next year, which was 2 years ago, the governor announced Maryland was entering permanent deficits because of Blueprint spending. Fees were then increased at a record-setting rate because you can't borrow money forever, so you got to increase fees. Permanent borrowing was obviously instituted, a cut to the budget for maintaining the roads in our state, right? So really, you can increase taxes, then you got to cut spending, and then you got to increase fees and taxes. 2 years ago, budget cuts for community colleges, libraries, summer programs for children, and to replace ambulances were all put on the chopping block. And then a negative outlook for a bond rating, which is very bad, because what it is it's the world's financial institutions acknowledging that our credit score dropped as a society in Maryland. I explained that these cuts in tax and fee increases were a sign of that financial instability was growing. It wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. Last year, even worse, record-breaking tax and fees were instituted. The state cut many programs, and most alarmingly, it cut funding to disabled individuals. I also announced that Maryland's finances have degraded so badly that pensions are now at risk. 2 months later, the state delegates and senators cut pensions. To the best of my knowledge, I'm the only person who publicly stated pensions are at risk, and then 2 months later, they were cut. Extra pensions were cut, health insurance payments to pensioners were cut, and a portion of the pensions was moved to the county commissioners from the state. Never happened before. This year, more cuts to services and even more money being borrowed. Money for green energy program was $300 million taken away, sent to Blueprint. Significantly more degradation of pensions, as now 50% of all increased pension costs for teachers, community college, and library staff are now being added to the county commissioner's budget every year. So it's not just the public school teachers whose pensions are being put at risk. Now it's an increasing number. Our local Department of Aging, our local department here in the county that serves both the elderly and disabled communities in need of $300,000, having trouble getting it. And just this week, it was announced that in 2 years, our county will start to enter permanent deficits locally, along with the state, which is obviously several years now, as the state delegates and senators keep moving their Blueprint spending increases onto the counties. My estimation, 15–25% of all the spending that they voted in is just being forced onto the counties, who have far less ability, a fraction of the ability to raise taxes or cut expenses. The tragedy is that every spending increase this Board of Education asks for, which is legitimate asks, by the way, this board is asking for all the right things. But the ugly truth is that it has now reached a point where every dollar this board asks for means that the county commissioners have been put in a situation where it's going to have to accompany funding cuts to the disabled, the elderly, the police, et cetera. But the biggest issue is with the impoverishment being caused by the Blueprint funding, is the damage being caused to the pensions. Now, the real issue, obviously, is the suffering of disabled, elderly, and all these additional groups. The reason that the pension cuts are really the key issue, though, is because pensions represent, it's the financial equivalent of a family saying, okay, we're spending every dollar we have, we can't max out the credit cards really anymore, we're gonna have to start taking money from our retirement accounts. It is only a matter of time before that family runs out of money, right? That's actually what when institutions start messing with the pensions, what they're essentially saying is, we're broke, we're living on borrowed time, right? So there's X number of people who don't realize it. Historically, when it gets to that point, if it doesn't stop, and there is time to stop it, but every year the measures to stop it get more and more as the debt and everything continues to pile up. Historically, it doesn't end until bankruptcy is announced. No state in America has ever announced bankruptcy, but it's becoming more and more of an issue. 30–40% reductions in pensions for the rest of pensioners' lives. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lowen. As the end of our budget hearing, we will reconvene the business meeting. And there's no old business, so we will move on to new business, where we will hear from Mr. Bechtel, the Supervisor of Purchasing.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Sovine. Tonight I have 10 items for your review. Excuse me. The Purchasing Review Committee has reviewed these items, and they are being recommended for approval, and staff is available if you have any additional questions.
Do I have a motion?
Okay. I move to approve the awards, renewals, and procurements as presented in the consent.
Thank you, Dr. Zimmer. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Murray. Do we have any discussion?
I have a question. So on the first item, the firewall support, I can see here that it is about, I believe, sources trying to get into our networks. So can you tell me how that works as far as, is it based on like number of devices, or like how does the pricing come to what it does? I think it's like $1 million, 1.5 over 3 years. So I'm just curious, like, is it device-based? Is this for our networks? I don't know a lot about firewalls.
Networks.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know I don't remember if it, give me a sec.
And then I would assume, I might be asking dumb questions, sorry, I'm not super savvy with technology, but like the networks are for all devices, meaning students and teachers' devices and staff?
Yeah, it covers WCPS.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious about if it's based on number of devices, or maybe if our networks are based on number of devices, so if those were to ever significantly decrease in the future, are we locked into a rate based on that, or, because I see it's a 3-year thing, so I just want to ask some questions since
We're definitely locked in. So it's subscription-based, and it's like a defined part number with the vendor. But it doesn't, it's not, so it's like a yearly subscription. So it's not, I would assume it has some basis on the size of our system and the size of our network. But I don't have the detail on the price proposal is simply for like a manufacturer's part number, essentially.
Do we have any other questions? I will say that, I know usually we have Joe Allen here helping
Yeah.
out with those. I guess
Yeah,
he's not
he's
here today.
unfortunately wasn't able to make it tonight.
When is that one set to start? When is that?
December 28th, 2026.
So, correct. However, we bid that with E-rate funds, or with the E-rate process, so we can get part of that funding back. And the E-rate paperwork has to be submitted by the end of the month, and it might actually by the end of this month. That's why we're bringing this in right now. So there is a time for that submission for the E-rate paperwork.
Do you know how much? Because I think I saw in here that expenditures are reimbursable, but not
Is it
all of them, do we
80%?
know?
Yeah, but it has to do with what's student-facing. So E-rate is only, the federal E-rate program only applies to part of what part of the purchase is student-facing, or at least student-related. And I don't have a good sense of how that would break out for a firewall system. This is the first time we've ever bid this with E-rate. Because you can only bid, you can't bid everything with E-rate. E-rate's you get a pot of funding essentially, and you have to decide how you're going to break that funding out. Yeah, please.
I do want to apologize. Mr. Allen was unfortunately detained out of town, was unable to be here this evening. I didn't think he would have the appropriate answers for board members. I think I maybe want to help by just saying that, what the firewall essentially is it really is the membrane between all of our network traffic and the outside world. So it's the safety feature that prevents hackers and so forth from getting into our systems, which protects student data, staff data, viruses and things from attacking our network are prevented by the firewall. That's what it is, and that's how it exists. So I recognize, it's a $1.5 million expense over a 3-year period, but it is vital to our network.
Different from the vulnerability management software. It seems like they're both protecting us. One's a membrane, I don't understand.
So the vulnerability is a scanning tool that scans the system, automatically identifies security weaknesses. Joe, give me some notes here. That's in computers, in our network, in applications. So it's kind of behind the firewall, making sure if anything does get through the firewall that this system then picks up and identifies it as, hey, this could be a problem, and then we have staff here who would, go in and check to make sure that whatever that problem may be, maybe it's a false positive, or maybe it is an issue that they need to quarantine and make sure that, it doesn't spread throughout the system.
For $1.5 million, they're not doing that on their own software? We have to go out and pay someone else to do it?
So I think it's two different, services, if you will.
Right, so,
Yeah.
but if we're paying another company to check the work of someone else that we're contracting, it just seems like that the firewall support should be guaranteed by the person we choose to hire, no?
With my very basic cybersecurity knowledge, as in what I've learned from my classes at Tech High, which this is like the perfect example of how much vocational learning helps our society. Basically, a vulnerability management system will check everything. It will check if you have an extra port open that someone could get into. It could check literally every single part of your system or your network to make sure that there aren't any breaches. However, a firewall is just the outward-facing part. It's basically that first layer of defense when there's so many layers of defense otherwise that are constantly checking that system and making sure it's fine.
And I completely understand that. What I'm saying is, if the firewall is to make sure nothing did get in, shouldn't they be guaranteeing their work? Hang on. Sorry, this is not public comment.
I think yes, but I also, and again, I wish Mr. Allen were here to answer these questions, but we really have two different parts of the network security. Because the vulnerability software is also checking internal on the backside of the firewall. We have to open various ports for communication to the outside world, also communication, for instance, some of our software is in the cloud, so that has to come through certain ports. So it's making sure also on the backside, it's that safety on the backside, checking that nothing is coming in from the inside also.
Right.
That makes sense.
So also, it probably is one of those things where when we get an email, it says, this is coming from outside. It's probably saying that it came through the wall because it looks good, but we're going to warn you not to open it up. So
Yes.
that's probably what that second layer is.
It's a piece of it, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I get that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I probably should know this, but how much are we currently spending on firewall? Is this a huge increase? This isn't a new item, right?
No, it's not.
Right, so
And
is it in line with what we're
it-
currently spending?
It is, yes, yeah.
You know what the contract was for previous?
I don't off the top of my head, but I can get that information for you.
Any other questions? Here none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? We have 6 in favor, 1 opposed, student member concurred.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we will move on to the first reading of proposed changes to policy IKAB.
Good evening, Mr. Evans, members of the board, Dr. Savine. The policy committee reviewed, policy committee reviewed policy IKAB at the public work session on March 11th, 2026, following the curriculum instruction committee's review of the policy. Policy committee is recommending the policy be updated with the changes also being recommended by the CNI committee, along with additional changes. The additional changes include formatting, adding a definition section, adding clarifying language to the policy. In addition, grades 3 through 5 will use letter grades beginning in the 26-27 school year. At this time, the policy committee is recommending the Board of Education approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy IKAB.
Thank you, Dr. Will. Do we have a motion?
President Evans, I move to approve the first reading of the proposed changes to policy IKAB entitled Grading System for Elementary Schools.
Thank you, Dr. Zemmer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is that Ms. Murray?
Thank you.
Any questions, any discussion?
I do. It's me. So I guess I just want to really understand why we wouldn't just have everything uniform and have it from kindergarten through 5th grade, because the entire reason that I wanted grades brought back was just clarity, and I feel like sometimes parents get more from actual grade letters because it's easy to understand.
So it is not going to be uniform K to 12. K to 2 will have a different standard. They will have consistently demonstrates progressing towards the development of the skill or needs development. So they will not have the ABC letter grades. 3 through 5 then will have the letter grades more similar to middle school.
And to answer your question on the why, I think part of that had to do when we took this out to the committee. There were concerns with specifically kindergarten, 1st grade. You probably could have drew the line at 2nd grade if you wanted to. There was some conversation, but so much of what we do at kindergarten and 1st grade is developmental. And there were some concerns about what that meant in terms of a D or an F and being more specific with feedback. And I know what you're thinking, the letter grade actually brings more feedback. And it does in the sense of when we think of the intermediate grades and the secondary grades, when we can average assignments together. But in kindergarten, when we think about the literacy and the math skills that we've been talking about specifically, we're really looking to talk about how students progress with those early skills. And that's why the committee felt pretty strongly that kindergarten and 1st grade in particular should still be reported using that number system, and to look at it over the course of a year as opposed to trying to average everything in a marking period like we do with the intermediate and secondary grades.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor? We have a unanimous vote with the student member concurring. Thank you. Next, we will move on to the first reading of proposed changes to policy BDDA, agenda format for regular public business meetings.
Thank you. The policy committee reviewed policy BDDA at its public work session on March 11th. The committee is recommending the policy be placed in the new format and language be changed to state that the agenda format set forth in the policy be a guide and not a requirement for the agenda planning committee to follow. The committee is recommending the Board of Education approve the first reading of proposed changes to policy BDDA.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
President Evans, I move to approve the first reading of the proposed changes to policy BDDA entitled Agenda Format for Regular Public Business Meetings, the role of the Agenda Planning Committee.
Thank you, Dr. Zimmer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I heard Ms. Murray first, or Charlie. Oh, Ms. Beachley first. Do we have any questions, any discussion? Yes.
I'd just like to know why we're changing the policy. Why is there what do you want to change? I mean, why is this not a good, Just wondering why you want to change it, I guess. Excuse me.
I can start, and then Mr. Evans, if you want to add, I think, from what I heard, the May serve, tonight would be a perfect example, where we split the superintendent's report so that we could do awards and recognition at the beginning of the meeting. And so that's an example of where the agenda planning committee might change the agenda or the format to better suit so that we didn't have all of those award winners waiting until the superintendent's report. Mr. Evans, I think you might have had other comments as well.
Yeah, just to piggyback on it, because I was going to bring something like that exactly up, and I was going to mention the budget hearing, right? We took a break and we added that to the business agenda here, right? So that's another example, and really the only change, if I remember correctly, I'm not looking at it in front of me, the only change we made was said that it may serve as a guide.
Right.
And so we're not changing, we're not changing the actual agenda. We're just setting it up so that we have more flexibility for those specific one-off things. And in this case, especially during the school year, we do have more recognitions and awards. In the summer, there's not as many, but this just gives us the more flexibility to be able to go and
Also, if you
adjust
look, it was first adopted in 2012, and we're trying to work our way in policy committee through all of them to make sure that they're still cogent to what we're doing.
I understand. I just wanted to hear it, that's all, for the public, for transparency.
Fair question, fair question. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor? And we have a unanimous decision with the student member concurring. Thank you. And next, we have the naming rights for the BISFA, Barbara Ingram School for the Arts Foundation.
Good evening again, board members. The next item in front of you is to approve some naming rights received from the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts Foundation brick paver program. The board approved a naming rights agreement with the foundation in 2020. In your packet, you have a list of 6 proposed new namings for that brick sidewalk outside of the school.
Approved, do we have a motion?
Yes, so
Go ahead.
I move to approve the naming rights received and committed by the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts Foundation Brick Paver Program.
Mr. Gesser, do I have a second? Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor? The unanimous vote with the student member concurring, and
Do they, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We are voted, I guess, but I was just curious, do they pay for the pavers or do we?
No, the foundation does, and the installation,
All right.
out of the
Buy one,
proceeds from the bricks.
Yeah, go ahead and buy one.
That's what I was curious, what they cost. I guess that was the better.
Well, it might have gone up since I bought mine.
250?
150, 250.
I think it might be 250. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it might be 250.
Either way, we are very appreciative of the donors and for all the work that the BISFA Foundation does for those students over there, so very good on them. Thank you. Next, we have the advertising rights for the Smithsburg High School Athletic Booster Club.
And again, thank you again, board members. In September 2024, the Board of Education approved an MOU for advertising rights with the Smithsburg High School Athletic Boosters. Before you this evening is another local business looking to advertise in both the stadium and inside the gym wall. In your packet, you have a list of all the current advertisers noted in blue and the new advertiser noted in red, as well as an image of the planned banner.
Thank you, Mr. Prue. Do I have a motion?
President Evans, I move to approve the assignment of advertising rights as requested by the Smithsburg High School Athletic Booster Club.
Thank you, Ms. Beachley. I have a second from Ms. Murray. Thank you. And do we have any questions, discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor? And we have a unanimous vote with the student member concurring. Thank you. And thank you to Smithsburg and for that, and I'm sure what we're about to approve here as well. Another one for Smithsburg Fieldhouse.
Thank you again, Mr. Evans. This approval is based on the memorandum of understanding for the stadium project at Smithsburg High School. The committee there is ongoing in terms of their working on naming rights and fundraising for the next phase, which is the team rooms, as well as referee spaces and new ticket booth. You have a donor here for the naming rights for what will be the new Smithsburg Field House when all of the funding is concluded at a value of $100,000.
Thank you, Mr. Crew. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the naming rights for the Smithsburg High School Field House.
Thank you, Mr. Burkett. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. Do we have any questions, discussion? The only question I have, I'm looking at the picture here where it says the Phillips family, Ron and Anna Margaret, lifelong educators, Washington County, and Julie Beer and Scott Phillips. Is that specifically what we're voting on, or is that something that's already there, or just an example?
And of course, that's an example of what the plaque may look like on the field house once it's erected.
Okay.
And of course, the field house does not yet exist.
Right, yeah. Well, oh yeah, I did say, is it currently there? No, it's not. Very good. Well, thank you. Does anyone else have anything? All right, hearing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor? We have another unanimous vote with the student member concurring.
Thank you.
And next, we will move on, we'll continue with the superintendent's update.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Members of the board, last week I had the honor of surprising 5 finalists who are now in the running for the next Teacher of the Year, and they are Callie Boyer, a first grade teacher at Clear Spring Elementary School, Ashley Doyle, a health professions teacher at Tech High, and Caitlin Keller, a connections teacher at Boonesboro Middle School, and Robin Papa, a math teacher at Clear Spring High School, and finally Angie Stauffer, a science teacher at Smithsburg Middle. I look forward to celebrating all of our teachers at our annual dinner and awards event with the Chamber of Commerce on Wednesday, April the 15th. Also recently attended the Daughters of the American Revolution Good Citizen Award event. One honoree was selected from each of our high schools for demonstrating the qualities of good citizenship, including dependability, service, leadership, and patriotism. Congratulations to all of our seniors who were selected for the Good Citizen Award. And finally, I'd like to provide a quick calendar reminder for this month. The end of the third marking period is Wednesday, April the 1st. All students will be dismissed 2 hours early on that day. And the next day, Thursday, April the 2nd, is a professional development day for staff. There will be no school for students, but our staff will be working and learning on that day. And then we head right into spring break. Schools will be closed on Friday, April the 3rd through Monday, April the 6th. I wish everyone a relaxing and enjoyable break. Mr. Evans, members of the board, that concludes my update for tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. Savine. We appreciate it. It's great to see that we're honoring our teachers and our ESPs as well. So thank you very much. And next, we'll move on to personnel actions.
Good evening again. I'm here to seek your approval on personnel actions as discussed in closed session earlier today.
Do I have a motion?
President Evans, I move to approve the personnel actions dated Tuesday, March 17th, 2026, as presented in closed session.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Zentmeyer. We'll move to the vote. All in favor? We have a unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Mr. Evans, if I may, I'd like to take a moment to briefly share some school principal changes that will take effect this summer. I appreciate these leaders for their continued commitment to serving our students, staff, and families, beginning with our secondary schools. Tim Eskridge will be the new principal at Innovative Learning Center, and then Dr. Michael Chilcutt is moving to Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, and Matt Mariello will be the new principal at the Boyd J. Michael III Technical High School, and Dr. Rachel Kane Kirkpatrick is moving to Smithsburg High School, and at North High, Bob Stike will be the new principal for the Hubs. Once again, these are effective July 2026. Once, they will, as I mentioned, transition this summer. Now moving on to our elementary schools. Jennifer Bowman, currently an assistant principal, will be the new principal at Potomac Heights Elementary School. And Jesse Orth, also an assistant principal, is going to be the new principal at Clear Spring Elementary School this summer. And then James Funkhauser is moving to Emma Cave Daub Elementary. Also, Gavin Myers, currently the assistant principal at Eastern Elementary, will be remaining at that school, but moving from assistant principal to principal. And Dr. Chris Alexander is moving to Lincolnshire Elementary, and Jamie Haid will be the new principal at Ruth Ann Monroe Primary. And rounding out our elementary principal changes, Ryan Rayleigh will be leading our team at Mogginsville Elementary. I would also like to take this time to recognize 3 of our principals who will be retiring at the end of this school year. Dr. Rob Havermel at the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, and Dr. Stacy Henson at Emma Cave Daub Elementary, and rounding out those 3, Jenny Rupenthal, principal at Hancock Middle School, middle senior high school. I'd like to take this moment to thank each of them for their leadership and their commitment to our students, and we wish them all the best in their retirement.
Thank you for that, Dr. Savine. It's crazy to think that we're sitting here and looking at 20-degree mornings and we're already talking about next school year. So thank you for that. We appreciate it. Next, we will move on to the legislative session report.
Good evening, President Evans, Dr. Savine, and members of the board. I know it's getting late, so I'll try to make this as quick as I can for you all. Today happens to be committee reporting date, which means this is the day that all the committees are trying to vote on bills so they can move them onto the floor for passage. Monday is opposite chamber crossover date, so any bills that one chamber has moved favorably will move to the opposite chamber. So this week has been all about voting. There's not been too many hearings this week because everybody's trying to get their bills moved forward so it has a better chance of passing. Previously, in my report last month, I shared with you testimony that we had submitted up until that point. This slide is just a recap of all of those testimonies that we had submitted, and there has been no movement on any of these bills at this point. I'm guessing that probably means there won't be any movement on any of them, but you never know. Things are moving very quickly. I intentionally did not put the status of any of the bills in this report because things are moving quickly. We've hit that point in the session where it changes from day to day and can change from morning to afternoon. Since we met in February, we have submitted additional testimony. We submitted testimony in support of the bill on National Board Certification salary increases. This would give the salary enhancement for teachers certified after July 1st, 2020. This is directly related to your legislative program. We currently have an MOU with WCTA that provides these salary enhancements for these teachers. This bill would give us state and local funding for that salary enhancement. We also submitted testimony in support of the truancy reduction pilot program bill that we asked our delegation to introduce. The Senate bill was heard in February. It was a quick hearing, no questions, no opposition noted, no movement on the bill yet. The House hearing was heard on March 12th. There was noted in the Delegate Valentine's testimony that opposition to the bill was filed. It was filed by the Maryland Public Defender's Office. Their preference is to delay this bill until a study on the pilot program has been completed, which I believe is later on this year. They also have concerns about the bill having a disproportionate impact on Black and brown students. However, the delegate from Prince George's County just raved about their pilot program. She said it's a great program, it's been successful, and they wish they could take all of their truancy cases through this pilot program, but just manpower and money doesn't allow for them to do that. But it's been very successful in Prince George's County. So hopefully the study will show that it's been successful in the other counties as well, and we can maybe see that at some point in time. We also submitted testimony in favor of a bill that would prohibit certain provisions in contracts. This bill, we actually supported at my request. I'm constantly asking for the same changes in contracts. So this bill would be statewide for all local school systems. This law is currently in effect for state government entities and higher education. It would just basically say that some of the provisions in a contract, such as indemnity and venue, are void, and the contract would be enforceable as if the provisions didn't exist. The other one that we have supported is the public school construction funding bill. This would establish a minimum annual public school construction funding goal of $550 million. It codifies the annual minimum funding goal for the CIP program, and that's an increase of $100 million over the current amount. The IAC has asked for more, but any little bit helps because there is a backlog across the state on school construction projects. MACO is also supporting the bill. There hasn't been any movement on the bill yet, but we're hopeful that it will pass. In my report last month, I shared with you some bills of interest that I was watching, so I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on some of those bills. I discussed the Open Meetings Act bills, and those are looking like they will pass. Both bills have passed their original chamber and have moved to the other chamber with amendments, so there's no doubt in my mind that these bills will pass. The bill will require us to start live streaming the open session prior to closed session, but we will not have to live stream committee meetings. So that's basically the only change for us as far as this bill. The other provisions of the bill we already do, such as how long we retain our video and where our video is located for the public to access. So really the only thing that you will feel is the live streaming of open session prior to closed session. The state superintendent declaration of state of emergency, that bill also looks like it's going to pass. It's passed the Senate with amendments, and the House bill has also received a favorable report with amendments. The bill was amended to add local control to the bill. So the state superintendent would not be able to declare a state of emergency unless the locals asked for her or him to declare a state of emergency. And the state of emergency would only apply to that county. It would not end up being a statewide state of emergency. And the state of emergency could only be declared in very specific instances that are set forth in the bill: natural disaster, civil disaster, public health, and what's the last one? A security threat as deemed by law enforcement. So it's very restrictive on when it can be done, and like I said, it has to come from the request has to come from the local. So the state superintendent would not declare a state of emergency for a county just on their own. The blueprint bill, the annual blueprint bill, there have been amendments introduced on both sides. So the House has introduced amendments and the Senate has introduced amendments. It doesn't look like those amendments mirror each other exactly. So unless one chamber says, okay, we'll just accept yours, it looks like there will probably be a conference committee appointed with members from both sides. That way they can hash out any differences and then pass the final bill. So that bill will pass. It looks like the seatbelts on school buses, it has no movement, so hopefully that unfunded mandate goes nowhere. The budget bills, they're starting to move. There's 3 weeks until they should be passed. And where we're at now, the budget bill and the BRFA bill have both passed a second reading with amendments. So if everything keeps on track, the budget bills should be passed in time to, if needed, the General Assembly would be able to override any vetoes. We're still looking at the amendments, waiting for all those amendments to come in so we can get a better handle on those and what exactly those amendments are. Of course, the House will also need to review the bill once it passes the Senate. They may have amendments, but it's kind of sounds like the Senate has already been working a little bit with the House, so they can keep the budget bills moving. One of the things we did see is that the Tier 2 pre-K expansion is most likely going to be delayed by a year by backing down that poverty level maximum from 600% to 450%. But like I said, we're still looking at the other amendments to see exactly what those are. The cell phone bills, no movement on any of them, rather other than House Bill 755, and that's been withdrawn. So I'm hopeful that nothing will happen with these cell phone bills and we won't need to amend our bill. I also want to share with you some bills that I am watching. Some of these bills will require us to update a current policy or create a new policy. The first one here on the list would require us to update our ethics regulation. We would need to update the definition of qualifying relative to include son-in-law or daughter-in-law. The bill also would give a local board of education the power to remove one of their own members for a violation of conflict of interest. Currently, under state law, only the state board can remove a local board member, and they can only be removed for immorality, misconduct in office, incompetency, or willful neglect of duty. Not sure if this bill has a chance of passing. It could potentially pass with amendments, with amending out the removal portion, but keeping the portion of updating qualifying relative to include son-in-law or daughter-in-law. I'm keeping an eye on that one because it could result in a policy change for us. The next bill, the Sexual Abuse and Sexual Misconduct Response Policy and After Action Review Bill, was a horrible, horrible bill as it was introduced. It disregards due process. It disregards DSS and law enforcement investigations. Thankfully, folks across the state have worked with the delegate that introduced it and have amended the bill to be basically just a policy bill. So in the event that there would be an incident of alleged sexual abuse or sexual misconduct by a school system employee, we would have to take the steps that would be outlined in the policy. If the bill passes, MSD would need to draft a model policy, and then we would have to adopt a policy by July 1st, 2027. That policy would have to contain, it would have to address things such as a communication plan. So if there is an allegation of sexual abuse or sexual misconduct, we would need to have a communication plan. How are we going to let families know that this occurred in your child's school? What does that communication plan look like? What all will it contain? Document retention. I believe they're saying, I think 3 years, that you need to retain all documents related to this allegation. And a centralized resource platform, meaning on our website, we would need to have a page where families could go to find resources in the community to help their child, typically mental health resources in the event their child is struggling. And lastly, it would also have to contain an after-action review plan. So look at the whole thing, what happened, what can we do better, was there something that maybe we weren't doing that allowed this employee to get away with what they were doing, if in fact it is a valid allegation. So I am watching that one as well, because that will require a policy adoption. I'm also keeping an eye on one about therapy dogs. As introduced, the bill would require us to permit therapy dogs in our schools. The board has made a decision, you have a policy, animals in schools, that therapy animals are not allowed in schools. Service animals, yes. Therapy animals are not considered service animals, so we do not allow them in our schools at this point. As introduced, like I said, the bill would require us to allow therapy dogs. I've seen draft amendments, though, that the bill would no longer require us to permit therapy animals, but would require us to have a policy if we permit therapy animals. I'm not sure what's happening with the bill. There's not really been any action, but like I said, I did see the draft amendment, so it's hard to say what's going on with that one. The other one, just to keep an eye on, does not require any policy changes, but it's a big bill. It all has to do with public school construction. The IAC actually asked for, the bill was introduced at the request of the IAC. So the Senate has passed the bill with amendments, and the Senate bill is now in the House. A couple of the amendments include increasing the threshold for state approvals for projects from 1 million to 1.25 million, and increasing the threshold for change orders from 50,000 to 350,000. These amounts haven't been updated in quite some time, I don't think, and I think Mr. Prue can attest to the fact that $1 million doesn't go far anymore. So we're hopeful that that bill will pass. I think it will. The MABE and PZAM really worked with the IAC on some amendments to the bill. MABE and PZAM, in turn, worked with facilities planners all across the state to say, what do you think? What do you see here that you like? What don't you like? Because the IAC didn't really involve any facility planners, so this bill is definitely more favorable to us now with amendments than it was when it was first introduced.
I think I would say on that bill that in terms of the change orders, that movement from 50 to 350, I mean, our team puts excessive amount of work reviewing all of change orders, and we pride ourselves on limiting change orders. It's really a matter of at what threshold does the state also get to review those change orders. I think we'll see some relief there. The move on having whether the state can review our plans for an adjustment, a renovation to a school between $1 million and $1.25 million, the same work's going to get done. We do very few renovations less than $1.25 million, so I'm not sure that's really going to provide any relief.
A couple other bills that I have noted that I want to share with you that I don't have on this slide. Again, a couple of them are policy related. So the first one would require us to update our policy on opioid overdose reversing medications. Currently, our policy, which is based on state law and model policy from MSDE, essentially limits the administration of such medication to school health staff and some trained school personnel. The bill, if it does pass, would require us to update our policy because the law would be updated to essentially permit anyone who's lawfully present on school grounds to administer the medication. So that means even students. If students are carrying naloxone, for example, they would be able to administer it. So I am watching that bill because it, again, could be a policy change for us. Another bill that I'm watching, also a policy change or a separate policy, however we want to do it, would require school systems to allow students up to 2 school days, to miss 2 school days a year for civic engagement. The absences would be considered excused, but they would still count towards chronic absenteeism. The bill as introduced has been amended. I suspect that it's probably going to pass, and it's very, it's very tailored what they consider civic engagement. So it's, you know, students would have to, for instance, if they came here, if you had a daytime meeting, because what they're considering a public body for a student to participate in civic engagement with a public body is, for example, a public body that's subject to the Open Meetings Act. So again, if that bill passes, we would need to either update our student attendance policy or just create a separate policy. And lastly, another one I am watching, not because we would need to update our policy, but because it could potentially increase our special ed costs. There is a bill that would require us to recognize external diagnoses of autism and immediately implement the student supports that are recommended in the external diagnosis. The bill kind of flies in the face of the IDEA because student supports are to be determined by the IEP team. As a team, they're the ones that are supposed to determine what's best for the student, what supports those students need. But this bill would say that whatever the evaluator is recommending, we would have to implement, at least until we do our own evaluation. So that could cost us money because we don't know what all supports an evaluator could be recommending for a student. It could be requiring that the evaluator could be recommending that the student have a one-on-one, which we have seen plenty of times. I have seen that evaluations where a doctor recommends a student have a one-on-one. The IEP team meets, they discuss it, they don't have that same belief. So, you know, we're potentially looking at personnel costs if everybody's coming and saying, oh, this student needs a one-on-one. So I am keeping an eye on that bill to see what's going to go on with it. I don't think it's had any movement yet, but it is still out there. There are also some concerns because it is limited to only autism diagnoses. So some folks are out there saying, well, what about other students with disabilities? They don't get this. You know, if their evaluator thinks they need certain supports, they still have to follow the same process, but students with autism diagnosis don't need to. And there's also concern, what about the students whose parents can't afford to have a private evaluation done? They won't get those extra supports. So hopefully the bill won't pass, but I'll keep an eye on it and let you know next time.
What's that bill number? Do you have
It
by chance?
is House Bill 901.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And 1 month from yesterday, 4 weeks from yesterday, we will be at the end. So, any questions?
Do we have any questions? I don't. As always, you have been very thorough. We appreciate your time and hard work on that. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. We will move on to board member committee reports now.
C&I met March 10th at Smithburg Middle School. Thanks to Principal Matt Hoffman for hosting and the wealth of information that he shared on his school, including great Lexile growth, increases in science and social studies performance, and congratulations to this entire welcoming Blue Ribbon School. We also looked at strengthening special ed transition to secondary school, an update on Grow Your Own and summer school. Our next meeting is April 14th at 10:30 at Clear Spring High School. We'll be looking at summer school and happy 250th birthday celebrations for America.
Thank you. Facilities?
Facilities will be meeting next Tuesday at 1 o'clock here at the board.
Excellent. Finance?
Nothing for finance.
HR?
Yes, we met on March 10th as well. We also heard about the Grow Your Own Registered Teacher Apprenticeship. That is a wonderful program, and it's so exciting. I wish they had it when I was still here. And we also heard from Lindsay Darr. She talked about the teacher transfer process and the non-renewal process. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, June 9th, here at the board.
Very good. Good, and policy met last week. I forget what day off the top of my head it was, but we discussed what you just heard about in our first readings, and we will be coming back on April 8th to discuss them for our second read. Next, we will move on to future agenda items. If anyone does have anything they'd like to add, certainly let us know. Otherwise, you can see what is currently on the future agenda by referring to the document there. And finally, we'll move to board member comments. Do we have volunteer to go first?
I'll go first, sure. This is the time I like to call the busy season of student council, so we've been getting a lot of stuff done. Just this past weekend, I'm pretty sure, we announced the student member of the Board of Education candidates, so the people that might be sitting on the board in my spot next year. And that would be Torin Malott. He has come to testify at numerous board meetings, and I'm interested in seeing his campaign and seeing how the votes fall. On April 10th is our Washington County Association of Student Councils meeting. Yes, so he's uncontested as of right now. We also just had Advocacy Day, where that was this past Friday. We went down to Annapolis and we spoke on behalf of bills that our student body and our delegation at WCAC meetings voted on. But ultimately, they impact all students. So we voted on everything, I like to say, from AI deepfakes to the school bus seatbelt bills that we've discussed, House Bill 110, I believe. Everything in between. It was really, really enlightening, and I thank all the legislators that took time out of their days to meet with us. And finally, this is one of my most favorite times of the year. It's convention. Actually, I'm going to be here tomorrow. All of our delegates going to Maryland Association of Student Councils' convention are going to be coming here to CES, like midday. Where we go down and speak with people from all around the county about student council and how to get involved in legislation. It's a blast, and I'm really excited and sad that it's my final one. Thank you guys again for this opportunity. I really do appreciate it. And
You always have the memories, though.
yeah, for sure. And yes, I am excited to see what we do in the future.
Very good, very good. Thank you.
I'm going to read this because it was something that was brought up tonight, so I feel I want to read this. I wrote this on January 12th, 2026, to the county attorney's office. And the title was No Increase Recommended. To the Salary Commission, thank you for the important work you do to provide adequate funding for our local elected positions. I have been on the elected Board of Education of Washington County since 2017. One of our charges is to advocate for more funding, not for ourselves, but for our programs, staff, and students. With federal and state governments unsure of the funding they will be providing WCPS, I am politely declining any raise that is offered to me. We are already considering serious cuts to our budget, and so every dollar we can save is important. Again, thank you for the important job that you do for our community. Sincerely, Linda Murray. And so to further that, I am going to say, if I am fortunate enough to sit on this board another term, I will not be taking any raise. Thank you.
I would just like to thank everyone who came out, not only to public comment, but obviously, goodness, it's late. The public hearing on the budget. I'm looking forward to a work session, I think, coming up where we can potentially find ways to be creative to address some of the concerns with ESP increases and teacher increases, and see if we can ask the county for the SROs and or the nurses, or find other creative ways where we can address some of the concerns. So looking forward to that.
Tonight you heard a lot of different people mention a lot of different needs. Teachers are important, they need this. Our ESPs are important, they would like that. Last week, I had the chance to meet with some LCSWCs who also brought to my attention some serious needs that they have and would like to see. And I guess my point, and you have, our administration staff that would like to receive increases. And so if you add all that together, sometimes it's easy to think about just one person. But when you add, what is it, 8,800 staff that we have? I'm looking at you, Dr. Savine. For some, anyway, it's a lot. And so you add all that up and you start, everybody wanting, you know, more and more and more. It's a hard job up here. It's not, and it's, you know, I think all of us up here have a heart and would like to give everybody a lot more. I do think that 1%'s a little low, but, you know, it's going to take some work across the board. And I'll go back to the SPs. I think they're severely underpaid. There's definitely some work we need to do with our social workers. So anyway, I too am looking forward to the public discussion, the work session coming up. That's all for me.
Budget is definitely one of my least favorite things that we have to do. But it's one of the most important. And I really think that we are trying everything that we can to find money where we can. I actually agree with Mr. Stenerson, and I don't feel like it's right that we will get an 8% increase whenever all we can offer our staff is 1%. So I would also like to request that if we do get an additional amount, my money be taken and put in the general fund.
I just want to thank everyone that came out tonight. Lives are busy, teachers are busy, staff always have something going on. So to come out and to voice your concerns and be a part of this hearing tonight, I thank you for doing that.
On a lighter note, why is everyone wearing green and shamrocks? What is it about the Chicago River turning green that makes us excited? St. Patrick, and I use the term loosely, was born in the 4th century in Wales. When he was 16, he was kidnapped from his parents' estate, enslaved and taken to Ireland, where he spent 6 years as a shepherd until he escaped after a 200-mile walk, only to return to Ireland as a missionary. While Patrick became a priest, founded schools, churches, and monasteries throughout the Emerald Isle before his death on this day in 461, he was never canonized, so he really isn't a saint. They didn't have the process back then. However, many legends surround him. Did he drive the snakes out of Ireland? Did he raise the dead? We do know that he used the shamrock for a lesson to explain the Trinity, to show how the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit could all exist separately, being separate elements of the same entity. So, now that we know green and shamrock, happy St. Patrick's Day.
I always appreciate our history lessons. It's always fun. I will say, to piggyback off of Ms. Murray, and I think, if I remember correctly, this would be the second time that I've been on the board that we would have a pay increase. And last time, I think it was, I think the way they do it is they phase it in for the people who are just getting elected. So assuming myself, Mr. Gessford, and Ms. Murray all get reelected, we would be the ones to get the pay increase, and then 2 years later, it will be that elected board to get the pay increase. With that being, that's my recollection, I could be mistaken
You're
on
right.
it, so.
You're right.
With that being said, I will say that I don't typically go and offer this, but I do give away my board salary. I don't take the pay, I give it away to various organizations in the community, and I also do not accept the pension that I can participate in, and I do not accept the board-funded healthcare either. So I do this voluntarily, and I give everything away. So just want to make that be known too. If anyone else has anything else to add, we will adjourn this meeting at 8:56.